Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. This reading vlog I'm really looking forward to because it's definitely going to be a bit of an intense fall reading session. That's right, this video's TBR is full of page turners, mystery, vibes, honestly all of the things I personally crave for a fall good time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and chat through my TBR. On full transparency, my TBR is rather aggressive, but I feel like because all of these books are super plot forward, I have a solid chance of finishing all of them or most of them for this vlog. At least I hope so. But the first book that's on my TBR is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I really enjoy Adrienne Young's writing. I read her other book just a few months ago, and this is her new release about a young woman trying to look into the disappearance of her mother and break a family curse. I hear this is like very thriller leaning, very like compulsive, and has a very big central mystery. So I feel like I'll be able to read this quickly. I also don't even think it's 300 pages, so it's a rather short read too. Then we have The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I have to read this book because this is my IRL book club pick. But similarly, I hear this is full of twists and turns. It's spooky, it's scary, it's a gothic horror story with a dual timeline. All of those things really speak to me. And also this is a book I quite literally need to read before this weekend because my book club is meeting. And then lastly, another gothic horror story. We have Starling House by Alex E. Harlow. Another shorter book. I really want to try to get to this before the end of the month, so I feel like I can at least start this book, but this is set in a small town. Creepy house, our main character starts working there, things begin to get a little mysterious, and yeah, these are the three books I hope to read over the course of this vlog. Heavy on the vibes for reading for this video, and I'm really looking forward to it. All of these are rather anticipated on my end, so we're just gonna see how it goes, and we're gonna get started. Wish me luck, because I feel like I might need it a little bit. Ooh, just have to add hummus, but I've made adult Lunchables for lunch. Who's surprised? No one. All right, it's that time of day. We're pouring ourselves an afternoon cup of coffee, and I'm ignoring all the dishes. And I'm gonna sit down and start one of my 3 books for this vlog. So wish me luck on that one. Because 3 books, I don't know why I feel like I can do it. I can read 3 books in like 3-4 days. It's gonna happen. I'm just gonna hyperfixate really good, you know, really well. So cheers, let's go read. So for my first book, I think I'm going to actually start The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I've just recently read some reviews in regards to this book that have really captured me. And I love the concept of this girl trying to find answers about her missing mother and kind of a mystery spiraling more so out of control. I also think there might be elements of an unreliable narrator, which I also appreciate. And Adrienne Young's writing is just like so atmospheric and captivating. So we're just gonna see how far I can get with this right now. And we're gonna get started. Hey friends, I'm here with my first reading update of The Unmaking of June Farrow. I've read a lot. I read a quick 120 pages of this book. The reviews weren't kidding when it says it's a very fast read. I also do feel like there is quite a large benefit going into this book knowing a more limited amount. So I'm gonna actually be kind of vague in my feelings and synopsis of this book, so keep that in mind. I feel like part of the experience of reading this book is definitely just kind of like piecing things together as our main character pieces things together. But the story opens and introduces us to our main character, June Farrow, and she lives in a small town called Jasper, which I believe is in North Carolina. It's like a mountain town. Her family has lived there for numerous generations, and they've all kind of run this delightful and very stunning flower farm. But there's one distinct thing that has been impacting the women of the Farrow family for as long as anyone can remember, and that is that they're cursed. Basically, something begins to happen. The timeline of it varies. The severity and onset of it also varies. But basically, the women of this family begin to see, hear, smell, interact with things that like aren't there, and slowly this sort of unreality accelerates to the point where they kind of become lost. And at the beginning of this book, June has just recently lost her grandmother to this illness, and her mother, who she's never known, has been known both in the community and within her family to have deeply struggled with this illness to the point where she just disappeared after June was born. But after the passing of her grandmother, she basically is told and also given some information that kind of leads June to go on a quest to try to figure out what is this curse, what's the origin of it, why is it happening, what's happening, and we kind of follow June as she begins to go on this very unexpected journey. And unexpected is it? So far, I am really hooked. I feel like the writing style is really effective too in kind of creating this sort of ambiguous vibe. Obviously, it's very lyrical. I feel like Adrienne Young has a skill with creating a lot of ambiance in her settings and locations. You kind of just, she's really good with the senses. Like I feel like you can see, smell, and touch everything that she's describing. Given that this book is more lyrical in nature too, it has this vagueness, this haziness to it that I also feel like adds to the overall ambiance of the story too, especially as this quest becomes a more frenzied search with our main character. Like we're learning things, but nothing feels very concrete. And as the mystery really begins to expand and spiral, you feel almost like just as unsure of what's going on as our main character June is. And obviously there is a bit of an unreliable narrator at play because June feels that she is losing her mind. The process of losing her mind has begun, and so she doesn't necessarily trust herself. And as the reader, we're trying to figure out if we can trust June ourselves. But this story so far is like so much to do with like family mystery, family legacy, magic, and a curse, and trying to piece things together. And it's like very captivating because of that. And June as our main character is very rootable. I mean, you can feel her desperation, and you feel just as desperate as she is to like get answers. And so far all things are unfurling. I just wasn't expecting it at all, like at all. And I'm very intrigued how this is going to continue to move forward. Like it was unexpected. And I still got like half of this book left. So like the directions are endless, apparently, because I couldn't even see where the beginning part was gonna go, let alone the end. So anyway, I'm gonna actually sit down and read more. I'm reading it so fast, it's captivating. And I will keep you updated, but that is my initial thoughts and feelings. Hello, it is much later in the evening. Met up and hung out with a friend for many, many hours unexpectedly. So it kind of took up my night. I had a blast, but I didn't vlog a single second of it, which happens sometimes. I do apologize, but I'm now in bed and I'm gonna sit down and do some reading. I'm over 50% of the way done with the Unmaking of June Farrow. The mystery of this book is like so captivating that I gotta know what's gonna happen next. So we're gonna sit down and read more. I see no issue finishing this book either tonight or tomorrow morning, and then I will move on to book 2 of this vlog, and we'll continue to try to make as much progress as possible. Good morning, everyone. We're gonna finish the Unmaking of June Farrow. I fell asleep so early last night, but this book has so many twists. It feels kind of like a CW soap opera, but also like the writing style is pretty good. But it just has this like flair to it that makes it so hard to put down. And I'm just like, what is gonna happen next? And it feels like every chapter has a cliffhanger. Hello friends, I'm now sitting down. I'm gonna read more of the Unmaking of June Farrow, but I wanted to give you an update of what I read last night, because I have a feeling I'm gonna finish this book this morning because it's really reading so quickly. From a mystery point of view, I'm gonna continue to be vague because I really feel like just kind of discovering what this curse is, what it means, and then like what begins to happen plot-wise is better to just find out for yourself, because I do think it's interesting and clever what Adrienne Young decided to do in this regard, and it's definitely like the most propulsive part of the plot. But more than that, and what I can talk about, is that this book is definitely about family, complex relationships of what it feels like to be a caregiver, mother, daughter, found family oriented relationships too, and then also like the trauma of growing up knowing that you are going to have an illness that there's nothing you can do about, and kind of what our main character has decided therefore that she has to give up to possibly prevent passing on this trauma to others, which I think is a really emotional concept to explore. A lot of this book too is like June's personal growth and journey. There's a lot of like introspection, coming to unpack her own feelings and how she is understanding not only her relationship with her mother, the relationship she has with herself, the relationship she has with her grandmother, and all of these things are explored with also a very fascinating mystery playing out alongside. And that mystery is impacting and also adding variables I don't want to talk about, but are very, very compelling. So yeah, there's like so many elements of like love and even a little bit of romance, which I will briefly mention, which I'm liking, but a lot of it is a solo character journey, which I'm also enjoying quite a bit. I also feel like the farm small town setting is definitely shining. There's something that Adrienne Young is able to do in creating these like small town communities, small town vibes, as not just like a setting for her books to take place, but also very much inform how characters interact with each other, but with the world around them. I feel like they're significant to the plot, not just to provide ambiance, which I appreciate, but this book is a little weird because I really feel like I can't talk too much about it, but I'm compelled. I think the character journey is really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to see how it's going to end and what in the world is going to happen. I'm curious though, to say the least. I am up, I am dressed, I have been reading, and I have a reading update. I have finished The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. This book is like 312 pages. I read it in less than 24 hours, so it definitely lived up to its like page turning promise, I would say. I would also say I didn't love this as much as The Spells for Forgetting, but I still enjoyed it. Like, it's definitely worth the pickup. It has like a cool sort of mystery, family sort of mystery, and I liked unraveling that and kind of figuring out what in the world was going on. I guess some of the turns, but ultimately that was okay. This does have a romance in it. And I almost wish, and I really liked it. I loved the idea and the angst surrounding the romance, and I almost wanted it to be paced more. Like, I almost wish this book was a little bit longer because I feel like the angst and the drama and the concept could have been prolonged to make it even more intense from a reader's point of view, if you know what I mean. But it was like a solid, entertaining, fall vibes read. Just not my favorite, but I by no means didn't enjoy it, you know? But now I'm about to start book 2 today. I've decided to do The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I've never read a Riley Sager book before, and I hear they are rides, like very intense, lots of twists and turns, and my friends who've already read this for book club say, like, kind of emphasize that element. Like, people were like, it was twisty. I had no idea what to expect or where things were coming, so I'm excited to be thrilled. It's been a minute since I've read a thriller, though this is a gothic horror leaning thriller, which I do love. So I'm gonna pick this up today. I feel like given the plotting of it, I'll read it really fast, which is what I'm hoping. But one book down, starting book 2, we're definitely on track, but now it's actually time for me to make lunch. So let's go chop some vegetables. Yum. Poured myself a cup of coffee. I'm about to go read, but I posted these on TikTok. Look how cute these are. Target had this like Thanksgiving collection and I went ham. I bought these, obsessed. And then I also bought these mushroom plates, which I've already found a home for. And this pie plate. It's literally like the cutest. If a collection could just be all my style, this would be this collection. They even had this I got as a wedding registry, this cabbage, which it's like a vintage brand. They duped it at Target, so good place. I would have gotten the dupe if I didn't have this as a gift, but I love it. Hi friends, just wanted to do a reading update because I have read just over 60 pages of The Only One Left by Grady Hendrix by Riley Sager. So this book is dubbed as like a gothic horror thriller story, and it's been so long since I've read a thriller that I am not even like used to the conventions, and it's kind of fun for me in that way. You know, like the classic, there's just you Matilda is being Matilda's, if you're wondering what Matilda was doing. I feel like Riley Sager is definitely utilizing those classic thriller writing tropes of like, can't trust anyone, we're not being told the whole story, things unfold, but you're kind of left in the dark for a lot of it. And you often have like an unreliable main character, and I think all of that is at play here. In this book, we're introduced to our main character, who is a caregiver. Her name is Kit, and we are informed that she has been a caregiver for 12 years. She liked her job, but something happened at her last charge that resulted in her being suspended and her becoming ostracized. And while no charges or anything were really pressed against her. Her job wants her to quit. Her father is no longer speaking to her. Her mother also recently died. And all of the reasons as to why this is incredibly murky to us. And also, like, who is at fault? Is our main character at fault? Or is she being unjustly treated? We don't know, which is very clearly on purpose here, because it also mirrors our main character Kit's new job, and that is she's taking care of someone named Lenora Hope. And our main character lives in a small town, and there was a very famous murder that happened in the 20s. This murder basically was of this really, really rich family. Everyone died brutally in the home except one of the daughters, and everyone thought the daughter did it, even though there was no proof that she ever did. Fast forward to now, I think this book takes place in the 70s or the 80s. Lenora, last surviving member of this family, has had a series of strokes and she's no longer verbally able to communicate and she needs a caregiver. And that is our main character, Kit. She's arrived at this house. Kit has secrets. Lenora has secrets. Everything's like a little eerie, a little spooky. Like something is just off. And I just imagine this is going to be a wild ride. It's gothic horror. And I imagine this big mansion that Kit is moving into that's kind of decaying and crumbling is definitely going to add to the spook factor of what's going on, or at least the ambiance. I love a creepy old house that's kind of like falling apart and decaying. It's a great setting for things to happen. I also love this, like, you know, this one wealthy, powerful family is no longer so much that anymore. So I'm hoping for some secrets to be revealed. I think it's interesting that I don't even know if I'm supposed to really be rooting for Kit or liking Kit so much. Like, I can't necessarily trust her, but I'm curious. I'm curious. And everything's like a little unsettling, you know what I mean? But a quick 62 pages read, and I imagine it's only going to get faster as we move past the exposition, because this has really all just been set up. And as things begin to unveil themselves, I'll keep you posted on my thoughts and feelings. Dinner is in progress. We got some zoodles. We got some broccoli because I am like a toddler. I like to hide my vegetables. But the main star of dinner tonight is spaghetti sauce. Some homemade spaghetti sauce, obviously making some pasta. I hide my vegetables within pasta, and then it's like, you know, it's a win for everyone. But I'm also thinking tonight I'm gonna start a new puzzle. I have this one, which I did last year. I have another fall puzzle I'm also deciding between from last year. It's all very tempting. It's all very tempting, but definitely gonna puzzle. Gonna watch What We Do in the Shadows. Definitely gonna read more later. I feel like it's gonna get pretty spooky. Dinner is served. Of course, pairing it up with some Vanderpump Rules where I begin my puzzling evening. Friends, night one progress has been reached. Hi friends, Clay is asleep, but I am reading. I'm being very disruptive. I've passed the 100 page mark of this book. I have so many questions. I'm so intrigued. The thing about thrillers is I would say like the characters and the side characters aren't necessarily like very compelling or wholly realized, but it's not even really about that. It's about the mystery and the plot, at least it is for me, and I think that's the strength so far of this book. And I'm very curious to see what's going on. Also, we're kind of jumping from present to the past because we do read these excerpts of Miss Hope or Lenora recounting what happened that fateful day to our main character. So I also appreciate the back and forth of the timeline, but I'm gonna read a bit more now and go to sleep, and I'll definitely track to finish this book tomorrow. At least that is my goal. Good morning, everyone. Matilda's there, stealing my seat. But I have my cup of coffee and I'm gonna sit down now and do some reading. I thought we'd do a reading sprint together. I went on a nice long walk this morning, enjoyed the cool. It's gonna be like 94 to 95 degrees today, but the morning was like 59 degrees. So I went outside when we had peak fallish weather, but now we're gonna read. The only one left is Heating Up. I really like that it has some spooky elements and the mystery is like growing and expanding. It's not just static to what happened in the past. Like there's present day stuff being added in too, and I'm like, ooh, and I feel like I'm reaching the point where like things are gonna really move very quickly. So we're gonna sit down now and do some reading. lunch today. I got a nice delicious soup and so much bread and a little side salad. And then we're gonna watch some TV, I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna get back to work, and then I'm hopefully gonna finish my book. I've passed the 200 page mark, so I'm making really good progress, so we just need to focus. I think we can do it. It's 4:30 in the afternoon, and she got dressed. It's never too late to get dressed. There's no timeline. I'm actually gonna sit down now and do some reading. I also, hold on. Look at my beautiful mug. There's a Jane Austen quote on the inside. Truly delightful. But I'm gonna go sit down now and read. I wanna get to over the 300 page mark of this book at least, and then finish it tonight. I feel like it's kind of picking up steam and will be hard to put down now that things are starting to be revealed. This book is like punctuated with lots of mini reveals that helps you fill in a little bit, but then also opens up more doors to more questions, which I think is part of what makes it so propulsive. Structurally, it actually reminds me a lot of the 13th Tale, like this use case of having our main character go to this faraway place that has like a famous sort of mystery surrounding it, and we have a character kind of telling our main character a story in the order that they feel best. They're not allowed to ask questions, and you know, they get to infer a lot of things, and obviously the narrative is biased, all this sort of stuff. And the gothic, there's like a gothic horror element to this too, so having a good time. It's not as beautifully written as the 13th Tale, let that be known, but it is entertaining. So I'm gonna go sit down now and read. I actually think I'm gonna go read in bed, which I really never do during the day, but the light in there just looks so pleasant. I'll show you, and I feel like it'll be a good time, and I feel like I can coax Millie into hanging out with me in there too. So let's see if I can get her to move. Millie, do you wanna go hang out in the bedroom? Oh, there she goes. But yeah, look at this nice light in here. It's kind of hot today, but that's all right. I'm gonna sit down here now and do some reading. Finish the book, everyone. I have a whole captive audience here. It was bananas, to be honest. I need to like process my thoughts, and then I'll give a final review of this book, but we have finished. All right, everyone, Clay's reading. Look at him go. But I have a reading update for the only one left. So I finished it. I will say, to its benefit, you definitely hit the halfway point, and it's very hard to put down because there are just kind of reveals all along the way that keeps you pulled in. I'll say I guessed some of the big reveals, and then some reveals truly came out of left field. I do feel like the first half was much truer to the sort of dark, strange, atmospheric, gothic horror inspiration. The back half, and honestly the last like 10% of this book was like so unhinged to me that it was actually kind of hard for me personally to take seriously. I just feel like the author reached a point where he was like, and then, and he was just like pulling characters out of closets. It was bananas, and I honestly laughed out loud a few times where I probably wasn't supposed to, but I was just like so shocked, but like not in like a satisfying shocked way, but like in a what in the world is going on kind of way, where I'm kind of like unsure ultimately like how I feel about this book. Like parts of it I liked, parts of it I wasn't a fan of, and maybe it's just like a moniker of the genre, you know, which is fine. Like it doesn't mean it's objectively bad, but just didn't necessarily work for me, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was interesting. I liked the family dynamics. I liked the family mystery. I liked the house, the sort of crumbling manor. I liked some of the reveals. I just feel like the end was too much too quickly, and there's just so much stuff like happening that kind of left the rest of the book, which I thought was pretty good, down in my opinion. But I did finish it. That also means I've read 700 pages so far, and we can soon move on to book number 3 for this vlog. And Clay might finish his first book. What are you reading, Clay?
My first book?
Well, like your first, because it's like, this is your first book of the vlog.
Oh.
Not your first book ever.
Yeah.
What's the book?
It's Sea of Tranquility.
Oh, yes.
Written by Emily St. John Mandel.
Clay's an Emily St. John Mandel stan. He's a big fan. But anyway, I'm going to go shower, heat up more pasta from last night, and we're going to watch Twilight tonight. So it's going to be a good time. And dinner is served. There's Matilda. Hi friends, good morning. I've decided to make a bit of a TBR pivot away from the third book that was initially on this TBR and pick up How High We Go in the Dark instead. Sugoya Nagamatsu. I don't know, something about the second book, which I liked but didn't love, also made me start to crave something that was maybe more literary fiction leaning, and I've heard such good things about this book. I hear it's emotional and poignant, and the writing style is so interesting, and all the stories that are present within it will just absolutely grip you. So I decided to pick this up. I started it a bit last night, and I'm going to sit down now and read more, and then I'm going to kind of give you more overview of my thoughts and feelings. But yeah, I don't know, something about Riley Sager's writing, which was fine, made me want to read something that was kind of more lit ficky. So here we are. I'm going to read this now. Also, so grateful for this incredibly gloomy, rainy weather. It makes me feel like fall is truly here in Austin, and I could cry. And Matilda, our little blanket queen, we call her the Princess and the Pea because she's under like 7 blankets at once, is also, I don't know, she does love the sun. So maybe she misses the sun a bit, but she's still sunbathing. I'll take off she has her really cute little flower collar on, but I'm gonna take it off so she can lounge accordingly. There you go, Millie, you're free. Every day can only be one thing, and one thing only. Grilled cheese and tomato soup. So, time to put that together. I literally watched a tutorial on how to butter slice bread, and I don't know why I'm so proud of my beautiful slices, but sometimes everything's worth a Google, a YouTube video tutorial, you know? And here we go. Hello friends, it is after lunch and it's still so gloomy. I think it's gonna rain a little bit later again. I could not be more excited. But I've read 60 pages of How High We Go in the Dark, and I have been doing a lot of crying. This book has pulled on my heartstrings in so many different ways, and it's so weird. I typically don't gravitate towards books that I feel like are gonna make me really sad. And this book is making me really sad, but it's also really compulsive to read, and it's so interesting. And it's not that it's just sad with no recourse. There's something underlining everything, and I'm curious to see how he's going to tie it all together. But to take a step back, what is How High We Go in the Dark even about? So this is actually a pandemic novel. So obviously trigger warning for that. I can understand why that is not a topic that everyone is interested in reading in. But I personally took a break from these types of works, but I feel like I'm ready to like revisit it now, I guess. But the story is really interestingly told, structurally speaking. It reads, like every chapter reads like its own solo short story, but it's not a collection of short stories because I feel like it will tie together. But each chapter feels very isolated from one another, which I actually like. And it gives you like a different main character, a different view, a different angle to what is currently happening in the world. But basically the story opens with our first chapter, and a disease that was trapped in ice in the Arctic was basically released into the world. And we're reading from a man's point of view who basically goes to Siberia to continue on his daughter's work, who tragically passed away. And in kind of like figuring out what happened to his daughter, they uncovered this body who was trapped in ice, which has this virus, which completely transforms the world and how we know it. And again, that's only one singular chapter, this man. And then we kind of move on to another character and another character. And I'm kind of enjoying moving around so much because each chapter is so emotional, but it is truly just like a glimpse into these characters' lives, like where they are in this specific moment. And the inputs of the world too are changing depending on where we are. I feel like we're moving a little bit further and further in time with every new chapter. And it's really interesting, just so many different stories of identity and the complexities of family relationships, grief and mourning and reaching out and finding the good within the bad. And like what's really particularly interesting is like there are setups or things that are happening in this book that just feel 100% wrong, like so dark. And the capitalistic aspect of it are just like so screwed up. But the people who are involved with it, you can see still the human side and understand like how we got here, because ultimately at the end of the day, people are just seeking to have connection, to grieve and be connected to their loved ones. And I feel like I'm rambling a bit, but the book is really, really interesting. Again, I've cried a lot in chapter 1, particularly in chapter 2. There's this theme park chapter, which just like has screwed me up on another level entirely. This book is not very long, so I'm actually gonna sit down now and do some more reading. It's like a hard read, but it's an interesting read, and it feels very like emotional, but it also feels rewarding at the same time. And it definitely is literary leaning, but it has what I feel like are going to be sci-fi inputs, like sort of kind of like futuristic inputs, because we are in fact in the future, and like there's going to be innovation with technology, particularly because like so much is happening in the world, and we're already seeing that in some of these chapters too. So I don't know. This is said to be for fans of, you know, Station 11, Cloud Atlas, and I can see that because of this whole tapestry of experience. Segoya, the author, definitely has a very clear and distinct writing style, and I think some really interesting inputs and perspectives that he's writing about, and I really like his inclusion in technology, and just like his capturing of family life in particular, particularly complicated family life. So I don't know. It's a lot, and I have cried a lot. It's definitely not a light read, but so far it has been very, very good. So I'm going to sit down and read more, and I'll keep you guys updated. My hope is to finish this book too by the end of the vlog. I imagine I'll be able to do that because this book does read pretty quickly. Oh, I've read more just now of this book. It's good. I cried even more. I also feel like there's a very interesting intersection between like science, like hard technical skills, science, engineering, and then art, and kind of the push and pull between these things. And often you'll have a character who's either involved in one or the other, and seeing how they interact. And again, because I think this is going to progress further into the future, it just shows how like humanity needs both art and science collectively. And again, because this book is consumed in short stories, you get these like microcosmic individual experiences with characters, but they do kind of represent this like larger collective experience too, which is interesting. Lots of conversation about obviously this plague that is sweeping the world, but climate change and all of these other things that are going on. It's not the complete end of the world, which I also think is an interesting picture. Like society is still very much relatively intact, but it is incredibly altered significantly, which almost makes it feel eerier in a way while reading it, but it's good. I'm liking it. I'm about 120 pages in. I do feel like from what I've read, the beginning stories have been a bit stronger than some of the stories I've encountered more so in the middle, but I'm looking forward to see how this book is going to kind of culminate and come together. Just like a very emotional collection of stories. And the How High We Go in the Dark, I feel like it's gonna be significant here, because again, while this is emotional and tragic and really pulling my heartstrings, there's still this undercurrent of like humanity, and for some reason I feel like it's going to like end positively, like positively amongst all of the disaster. Like it's not a positive thing that happened, but like we're still resilient and we can still pick up the pieces kind of vibe. But I'm gonna read, I'm gonna cry. It's gonna be a disturbing time. Hi everyone, and welcome to the end of the vlog the next day. I'm happy to report I have finished all 3 books I featured in this vlog for a total page count of over 1,000 pages, which I think is pretty impressive and I'm gonna take as a grand success. But let's do a quick recap of everything I read. Let's go get these dust jackets first. The first 2 books I read for this vlog were very mystery oriented, which were a lot of fun. The first one is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I love this author's writing style, her concepts, her combination of like very melodramatic and emotional storylines with other things like romance and just really interesting time and place, which I feel like definitely shined in this. I feel like I like Spells for Forgetting more, but I still enjoyed this book and I did read it rather quickly, so I would recommend this. Then I read The Only One Left by Riley Sager, gothic horror thriller story. I read it quickly. It was very compulsive, but ultimately by the end, I didn't love the ending. I just felt like too much was happening all at once for me personally, but I also think that might be this author's style. I hear he is very much known for including a bunch of twists in his stories, and yeah, I think some of it worked for me, some of it didn't work for me, and partly because I read this book and I kind of wanted to be a little more mesmerized, a little more amazed, I decided to end this reading vlog by reading a literary fiction book, which is How High We Go in the Dark, which I have since finished. And because I haven't talked about my final thoughts and feelings of this book, I must say This was good. I do feel like the beginning stories were stronger than kind of the middle stories, but I think it picked up again towards the end, and seeing how the author sort of brought everything together in the finale element of this book was really, really interesting. I just thought there was lots of thought-provoking moments and stories that really took my breath away and made me think. Just some of the scenarios he creates really makes you wonder like what you would do in that situation. And again, how he handles like complex family dynamics is definitely one of my favorite parts of this book. Just the love and grief that is to be human. I feel like he really captured that spirit within this story, and I'm glad I picked it up. But yeah, 3 books were read. 2, I would say, of the same vibe. 1, kind of an outlier, but also very, very excellent. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.